Obviously, this particular comment didn't age too well.
Howdy, the lad whose name you can see below the video here. Welcome to, at last, another channel update. And yes, it has voiceover. That's another thing from the 5th update that aged like milk. Keeping the 2017 nostalgia was cool for a while and I still appreciate those simpler times, but you can't constantly live by nostalgia. Life is about moving forward and only looking back to see your mistakes, to get better. And I personally would rather move on and make my channel more professional, even for the microscopic audience it has. Anyway, like everything in the last few months, the case of this update was crazy. Originally I was planning to release it between Insert of the Scarlet Griffin and Lenny's vlogs, and yet here we are, a month after the long delayed No Life special. Well, life, so let's get started. As for what I'm currently working on, of course it's episode 3 of Team Y, Legion of Chaos Attacks. And even though I'm planning to begin work on another project soon, it will be a side project, meaning I'm probably gonna work on it like once or twice a week or whatever, up until I'm done with Team Y. More on that later, as I'm actually gonna showcase the slate for this year. Anyway, even though the slate sort of forces me to set some release dates, I'm trying to live by the rule of no deadlines. Although animation is my hobby, it requires a lot of work, and because of that, I was treating it as a job too much. Phew, that was a lot of personal efforts. Now, since Insert 4, I've been gathering some of the comments to read here, and they are from Oki1 only. Yeah, I wanted to answer all these matters here for some reason, so kinda sucks that you had to wait for it so long. Alright, so without any further ado, I'm gonna skip over a few points here, either they are outdated, already addressed, or I don't have much to say about them. I get it. To be fair, I would have also liked that. Could have made the fight longer, since I also wished it was, but it wasn't planned, as I've never actually seen BSOD as a villain who would fight. I've always seen him as the shady boss of the bad guys who is responsible for coming up with all these schemes, and his gang who would just execute them. Not because he's a computer who can't move without a mobile screen, but because he doesn't have to. Copper, Commander Buzz and the others, being his servants, fight for him, and he remains powerful because he still commands them. It's cool that you made him fight in that machine form in Core Inbound, but at the same time, I've never felt the need to make him fight. And yet, he still got his time to shine in the Part 5 battle. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't keep the original template like I planned to. And thanks to that, now I don't have to update it for Johnson's Vengeance. As for the Jenny and Phil scene, it was needed. It was the most important point of the romantic arc. And what do you know? I think it's pretty obvious that the special had a more permanent effect on No Life. Plus, this is what was also brought up there and was actually his main arc. Yeah, he was able to change already in 2018, but something was constantly causing him to revert. Hence, he went on to commit the same mistakes again. Because that's also the way it is in life. You cannot instantly change. It takes a lot of attempts and willpower to do so. You genuinely have to want it, and not just say that you want it, but actually do it. But it's never gonna happen the first time, especially if you don't have people supporting you. It takes a few falls, and No Life was still in a comfortable situation, as his family was more open after it got shattered because of Johnson. Now, onto the Insert 5 essay. I think you're going way too serious on this one. I decided to throw him out after Party Hard was decanonized, because originally that scene was supposed to reference its events. And since PH was made non-canon, then yes, and the character would actually sort of cease to exist in the universe, as it never appeared elsewhere, unlike Alice and Caddict, and was never referenced. So, if anything, you should be mad that I brought him back into the canon, when no one even knows why this trashy character, made on some livestream, was even added in the first place. If it was anyone else, I would discuss it with you guys, so chill. Well, there's always a time and place only for a limited amount of things, and some scenes are just not needed. I didn't have an idea on what to do with Copper and Buzz, so I didn't force anything. Do you know what's the problem here? Hans being with the gang doesn't destroy the vision of Phalanx working from the shadows. Like I said many times, Hans is gonna be a connecting person between the gang and Phalanx and provide the weapons or missions for them, meaning something like Punkit in Core Inbound Part 4. If I use Phalanx again, Hans is gonna be in that role, as he's not a part of the Cosmos, and he shall be the speaker on behalf of the agency. The Scarlet Griffin didn't affect No Life because he wasn't using it. Man, I thought it was actually repeated too many times that Griffin makes a bad person perish if they are the one to use it. It's a genre thing. The typical Indiana Jones antagonist uses the artifact and something unnatural happens to them, whether it has a bad effect like melting faces and exploding heads, or temporarily good and gives them knowledge. Seems only fair that if In Search was inspired by Indiana Jones movies, which first took from 1940s serials, then some obscure elements are just likely to happen. Also, no, actually the first form would have been easier to animate, but I prefer the main one more, especially that BSOD was supposed to be as big as possible. The 4 traits were constantly reminded of throughout the whole series and for the most part were shown through characters' actions. And if you're referring to Phil's idea, then you know. Of course, it luckily worked all of the sudden, but not like it's the first time they were fortunate. Plot. Plus, Phil came to the realization thanks to Spy not being affected in any way after using the Griffin alone. About the arm, don't reduce everything down to fights. Of course it's gonna be useful there, but her metal arm is the permanent consequence of the past unreflected actions, which will always remind Spy of his mistake. But not in a bad way, because it's the symbol of his change. He now knows, looking at it, that if it happened now, he would think of something that would maintain the Griffin with them and wouldn't hurt anyone at the same time. Once again, during the pre-production of the series, anyone's return didn't seem that likely. So I didn't consider leaving the relationship untouched, especially that I wanted love to be in the air in the series. Phil and Jenny, Alice and Sat, Rex and Mangle, and finally the No Life's Alone in Paris essay. Well, good to hear that No Life did indeed change for the better in others' opinion, and that you liked the Johnson cameo despite your dislike of him. Although Johnson isn't a space lord. Yeah, I'm kinda disappointed with Tobias and Larry too. Like I said on Discord, they were supposed to demand the purse or whatever, but I changed that midway through the production, which usually is a bad thing, but I'm not that ashamed of that. At least now they've learned something and are probably thinking of some bigger thing. Well, they are, because the action took place on a Wednesday evening. I mean, their complaints were what actually pushed their story here. The exposition was long and dull enough though, so that's what could have been shortened. Well, the battle wasn't meant to be that spectacular as it's more grounded. I actually wanted No Life to create more booby traps to maintain the spirit of the Home Alone movies, since there weren't many traps in the first one, but the story shaped in the way it did and No Life didn't have time or resources to do so. On the other hand, if characters need to talk, they should talk, even while they're facing one another. Oh, and good to hear that, and we're done. But only with the comments! There are still plans to showcase, so let's go to that purple void again, because I seriously have had enough of drawing around Sona poses. First things first, yeah, I updated the look of the slate, because I didn't have a blank version of the original. First of all, oh hey, nice, that's all done, cause we're already far away from early January. Alright, now let's also get rid of the obvious ones. As you can see, I am not planning to Team Y episodes again. I don't wanna be too optimistic, and additionally I have less but more demanding side project this time. And yes, Elastico is slated for a slightly different period than last year because of other projects in between. But before we get into them, here's something that I can't guarantee at all, but I still had to do with it. 15th of March is the estimated release of the full Milo Murphy's Law Reanimated project, which will release on the second dimension and feature clips of the pilot episode remade by dozens of talented creators, including me! Aside from the fact that I'm not talented. It doesn't depend on me, so don't take it for granted, obviously, but be sure to watch it once it releases, because some of the clips I've seen, damn are those guys creative! One of my resolutions for this year is to release at least one video each month, but it needs to have some value to the channel, so updates count, memes don't. It's not really that serious, it's just a fun challenge to keep the channel active, and I think I have just a way to do that. This year my first videos will turn 5 years old, and this gives an opportunity to look back, see how I evolved, and still have some good laugh from how bad they are. So all these dots you see on the slate are more or less on the anniversaries of my 2016 videos, and it will be when I release commentaries on each one of them. It's probably gonna be a fun thing to do, so stay tuned! Finally, we get to the tasty meat. Or we don't if you're a vegan, but this at least won't reduce the numbers in any species. First of all, the biggest video I will have ever released. The feature-length movie Johnson's Vengeance. It is here where we see the Cosmos discover and face Colonel Johnson in an attempt to rescue Lenny, which eventually leads us to explore the hidden chapter of their past. Unlike most of the current era installments, this one will feature all of the main four, plus, obviously, Lenny, Charles and Caddict, Jenny, Alice and Matt, with Colonel Johnson as the big bad and Jack Jester in a side villain role. Due to Johnson, you bet that No Life is also there. These are all the characters I can confirm and am sure of right now. Still, it is a much smaller cast than Insert, making it easier to focus on the characters. I'm planning to release the movie around the time The Thunder was released, but may also be later if I decide to. Probably then. To put it simply, the usual blockbuster season. Also, as I said, no deadlines, and I don't have to be attached to that set period, but it would be better for JV to debut not later than half of July, so there's some time to breathe out before my next Spyman's Cosmos project, and maybe even make it. So about this project. I haven't revealed its title yet, and while I had it in mind for a month, I kept it for this video, as it seemed only fair I would announce it here. Welcome the Spyman's Cosmos Summer Special. Road Trip. The premise is that a part of our gang receives a mission from Phalanx to transport a certain object under the cover of some friend's road trip. Thus, they end up driving an RV through a fictitious version of Poland. On the way, however, they meet other figures who are interested in the object too, and have to face them. And of course, those characters are the Troublesome Trio, which you already know from No Lives Alone in Paris. The special will see Love being expanded on, so stay tuned for more of the members too. As for the heroes, it was supposed to be the main four like in Johnson's Vengeance, but I had a hard time finding acts for some of them, so it's the same case as Oki-1's Machinery Landing. Only Spy and the creator's character. Phil in this case, duh. Besides them, you can also expect Jenny and Hans, since he's gonna tell them about the whole mission on behalf of Phalanx, due to their familiarity from Insearch. The special will also show some effects of Johnson's Vengeance, which No Life couldn't. See how it all connects? This makes me feel even more like Kevin Feige. And it's November where we actually stop before the obvious final project. 25th of November will mark the 10th anniversary of my first well-developed universe, Agent 07. While the universe is kinda dead, I want to celebrate that somehow, as it had a huge effect on me and my storytelling. I've actually been thinking about a special ever since introducing that world to my channel for its 7th anniversary. What I've been aiming for quite some time is a short, just few minutes long, without any dialogue but with lots of action. Basically something like WP Drive's Samantha videos. While it would be action-packed, it wouldn't last long. And I believe it could be a cool way to experiment. Finally, exactly a month later, and hopefully not after that, making it the only real deadline, we have the annual No Life special, which I'm too lazy to make a logo for yet, but you can be damn sure it's gonna be called It's a Wonderful No Life. God, I love that pun. But let's be straightforward. I said I'm gonna live with the no deadlines policy, and having a Christmas special always forces you to still have some sort of deadline. That's not cool. Plus, I failed to bring out a special for holidays 3 times already, and it was no good. I totally lost 2019 and 2020 Christmas in front of computer and didn't spend that time with my family. Nonetheless, it stresses me out and I don't want to lose holidays anymore. Been thinking about this ever since working late on NLAP, and I guess that will be the case. It's a Wonderful No Life is going to be the last No Life special. At least for some time. Who knows, I may change my mind. I still have almost 2 years to do so, and there's definitely more stories to tell with the boy. Yet, It's a Wonderful No Life still seems like a good closure. Seems like the best solution for me. I'm feeling tired of the annual havoc with No Life, which also kinda sucks seeing that I sort of found those special language in how No Life stole Christmas. Sad if it would all end so quickly after that, but hey, nothing to be sure of yet. And that's it. As you can see, no minor content this time, meaning you don't have to worry. I'm not planning any surprise April Fool's animations again. Okay, I had an idea for one since 2019, but I swear I'm not planning it anymore. We good? We good. Other than that, I've recently been thinking about some movie content. Why not? The name obliges me to, and I have 2 video ideas. Not some basic reviews though, more towards the essay side, and that would be in Polish only. That's not anything certain in the first place, and I know it's gonna need a lot of time put into it, so yeah. Other than that, I think everything was said, and both the plans and the update are done. So let's hope for the best this year and see you all in the next channel update.